Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun to talk through my winter TBR. I have been trying to make TBRs seasonally just because I know monthly TBRs would never be a thing that I could potentially fulfill. But honestly, I'm not that good at seasonal TBRs either. However, I do think it is fun to kind of sit down and look through all of the books that I have to read on my shelves and kind of pick some that I think would really fit the season well, and kind of just like books that I want to read really soon anyway. So I don't have like too many because I don't want to get super ambitious. I don't think my fall TBR went that well either, but I mainly do TBRs to kind of give myself an outline and maybe potentially give you guys some ideas for things that you might want to pick up. So it's a win-win situation. We just won't talk about how well they actually go when everything's said and done. So yeah, let's get into it. First up, I have something that I really hope I can finish this winter, and that is a little graphic novel, and this is Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo and Danny Pendergast. This is like a graphic novel format of the Darkling's backstory, who is from the Shadow and Bone series by Leigh Bardugo. I do believe she has like a normal like written out version of it, and I think I tried to read it as soon as I finished Shadow and Bone, but I was bored. So I do think like the addition of like some fun little illustrations and whatnot could really jazz it up, and I'm just really excited to jump into this one. I don't know if it's because I originally read like Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows in the winter, but I do kind of just associate that series with winter, so now would be a perfect time for me to pick this up. So hopefully I can. Fingers crossed. Next up, I have a series which I've been wanting to start for the longest time, and it honestly has like nothing to do with winter at all, but I just really need to start this because I loved the other series that I read from this author, so obviously I need to start Daughter of Smoke and Bone immediately. I honestly don't know anything about this series. Absolutely nothing. I think it might have to do with like portal magic, but that's a big maybe because I have no idea. However, generally I do like to go into series not knowing like too much. I just feel like it makes it so much more fun if I have no idea what I'm about to get into, and I definitely trust Laini Taylor with a good story. I loved Strange the Dreamer so much, so this has been on my radar ever since I finished that series, and I think now is finally the time. I'm so excited to jump into a new YA series. I really hope I love it. We'll report back. Next up, I actually have 3 books from the same series, so mainly I'm just like hoping to finish this series through the winter because I read the first one in November, so I'm hoping I can read the next 3 over the next 3 months, so I can read one in December, one in February, one in January. I don't know why I said that out of order, but I would really like to continue my reread and finish my reread of the Twilight series by Stephenie Meyer. Obviously, I want to read New Moon Eclipse and Breaking Dawn. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about my reread of the books in the series that aren't the first one, because obviously the first one is the best one. I just don't know. I really want to continue my reread, continue annotating the absolute hell out of this series, and I'm just very excited for that. So hopefully this will potentially happen. No, actually, I think this one might happen just because obviously they're really easy reads and I'm really excited about it. So, I mean, not that I'm not excited for the rest of it. You know what I mean. I think you know what I mean. So definitely want to finish Twilight this winter. The next book that I want to finish very soon, actually, so kind of an early winter read, shall we say, is Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Kuzner. This is a retelling of the Nutcracker. I've heard many good things about the writing. I'm so excited. It seems so whimsical. Obviously, I'm really hoping to read this in time for Christmas, which is literally in like a week. So whether or not that happens, I don't know. It's always an option. Honestly, like if I don't read this for Christmas, I probably won't read it this winter. I'll save it for like next winter, but either way, I think it's just such an interesting concept. I've never read the Nutcracker, but I've been to the ballet, if that counts for anything. So I'm excited to see what this retelling is like. And then next up, I have a continuation of series that I've really been wanting to read, but I've been saving it specifically for winter, so obviously it's perfect that I'm putting this in this video, and that is The Ballad of Ever After by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and I think the third one, I think it comes out in 2023. So yes, like I said, I've been putting this book off specifically so I can read it in winter. It has a very like snowy atmosphere, and I just feel like it would be perfect to read on like a super crisp day, and I'm so excited to finally get to this one because I really enjoyed Once Upon a Broken Heart and I've been wanting to read this, but I was like, September is not the time for this kind of book, so I've been saving her, but finally it is time, and I'm really hoping I can read this one soon as well. Again, I guess we'll see. Next up, I have a fantasy romance series that I actually started last winter. I think I read the first book in this series in February, and I enjoyed it so much, and I've been seeing Tori from Tori Between Pages talk about it a lot recently because she loves it too, and it has reignited my interest in continuing this series. Like, I always knew I wanted to continue it, but I never knew when that was going to be, but I think it might be very soon because I've been in such a fantasy romance mood, and I'm so excited to finally continue this series, and that is the Bridge Kingdom series by Danielle L. Jensen, and I will be reading the second book in this series, which is The Traitor Queen. I honestly, like, don't know if I remember enough from the first book to, like, really be able to continue it, but I think I might look up a little synopsis. I might read the last page of the first book and just jump into it because I have had this book for a really long time, and I would like to get it off my TBR as well, so many incentives for finishing this book finally. But I will kind of give you a synopsis of the first book just to kind of give you an idea of what the series is like. So we have our main character Laura, who has been trained to be an assassin since she was very young. She is very good at her job, and one day she's married to the prince of another kingdom, and you know, he's like, oh, you know, finally have a wife, but she's like, oh, okay, my next target. So she's basically sent there to kill him, but obviously that's not gonna happen. They're gonna fall in love. I don't remember anything else about the plot from the first one, other than the fact that I really liked the enemies to lovers. It's not quite fantasy really, because I don't think there are, I don't even remember if there are fantastical elements in this book, to be honest, but it definitely reads like fantasy romance, and I think it's definitely lumped into that category a lot, so I'm really excited about it, and hopefully, I just keep saying the same thing, but hopefully I can read this winter, because I know if I let it go on any longer, I will forget everything that happens in this series. So, and I think there's also a third one out, although I don't think it follows these two main characters. However, I do really like Danielle L. Jensen's writing, so I would definitely be interested in continuing the series. I'm not gonna allow myself to buy that book though. Until I finish this one. Gotta set some standards. And then lastly, I do have two other books that are also kind of fantasy romance, but I don't have copies of them yet because I have put myself on a book buying ban in December because I just bought so many books. In November, I did not need to repeat that. So I think I bought one book on the first of the month, and that's been it. It's been 16 days, no books, and hopefully that can continue. I don't know though, because like if I get a gift card for like Christmas or something, obviously I'm gonna go buy some books. So that was a long tangent, but there are two books that I don't have, but I want to read them really soon. One of them is actually not out yet. It doesn't come out until December 20th, and then the other one I just need to like find a copy of. But the first one is the second book in the Adrian and Isolde series by Scarlett St. Clair. I read the first one, King of Battle and Blood, in November. I wouldn't say it was great, but I definitely had a lot of fun reading it, and the kind of hint of a plot that came into it during the second half of the book was decently interesting, and I really want to know where things are gonna go for our characters. Like, I want to pick it up next Tuesday so badly, but I am going to exercise some self-control, and I will wait. But just know that I will be picking it up at my earliest convenience. And then the other book that I want to read, which I'm so excited about, is The High Mountain Court, I think by oh god, I don't even remember the author. I'm just like thinking off the top of my head here. By A.K. Mulford. There we go. And I've heard this compared a lot to ACOTAR, as a lot of fantasy romance series are, but like they still get me. Anything that's compared to ACOTAR, I'm like, I need to read it because I am this close to just like rereading ACOTAR, you know? Like maybe that'll be on the winter TBR, reread ACOTAR. Or put that as like an honorable mention here. I might reread ACOTAR very soon, but I do want to branch out into some other fantasy romance series. I don't think I've heard like too much about this series, but I have heard a couple of people talk about it, and I'm definitely very intrigued. I will honestly just eat up anything that's marketed as fantasy romance, so I'm like, yeah, I need to read it. So I really need to just like get a copy of it because I do really like the covers for these books, but again, I have to wait. So maybe like very early 2023, I will be picking this book up and reading it. I'm so excited. I've also heard that the second book maybe is better than the first one, which I feel like that is such a common theme in fantasy romance series. I don't know what it is, but like they just keep getting exponentially better. And I will definitely push through even if I'm not vibing with the first one. I've done that with a lot of series and it seemed to pay off, so there we go. I guess maybe I should just buy the first two. Like honestly, do I need to be talking myself into buying even more books? No. but I'm still really excited about both of them. Anyway, I think this has been a rather short video for once, which I know we're all shocked. However, I don't want to just absolutely overwhelm my winter TBR, so I have even the slightest chance of actually reading all the books that I was gonna say. I think for my fall TBR I had like 15 books on there or something. You wanna know how many I read? I don't know how many I read, but I think it was like 3. But I still think they're really fun to make, and I'm going to continue to make them because I like making these videos. So I hope you guys liked it as well. I hope maybe you got some ideas for books you might want to pick up soon. I'm realizing like literally all of these are fantasy. I've just been like on a fantasy kick recently, and like I'm normally on a fantasy kick, but in like September and October and a little bit of November I was reading like spooky books, which like there's not many spooky fantasy books, although if you know of any, let me know. But I just had not read any fantasy for a while. Oh wait, I know the other one I was gonna put on this TBR now. Hang on. Yes, I would indeed like to read Words of Radiance. I feel like I talk about how I want to read this book a lot, and then I never do. But it's literally like, I keep saying it's 1,200 pages. Oh, it's only 1,100 pages. So this is the second book in the Stormlight Archive. I think I read the first one last year. Really enjoyed it. I literally gave it a 5-star, picked this book up immediately, never read it, so I'm really hoping that I can read it potentially in 2022. Like, I'm not going to say I'm gonna read it in 2022 because the odds of it actually happening, very low. But it's a nice thought. I'm going to attempt to read this before the end of the year because it is on my 2022 TBR, and that TBR, shockingly enough, has also been flopping. So I feel like if I read the 1,100 page book off of it, I'll consider it a win. Like, I just absolutely love diving into high fantasy during the winter. It's so cold outside, but I can just be cozy in this fun, well, maybe this world isn't very fun, it's kind of brutal, but in this very expansive fantasy story, and like hopefully that actually happens. Again, I don't know, but just adding to my list of fantasy books that I want to read this winter, like literally that's what all of them are. Like I said, I'm just in like a huge fantasy mood because I was reading spooky books for so long, but I missed the fantasy and I'm so excited to be back in my fantasy era. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do let me know down below what are some books on your winter TBR, or also maybe you could tell me how your fall TBR went, any of that kind of stuff. I would love to hear. I would ask for more wintry book recs, but like, do I need to add to this TBR? No. However, if you have any, I would not mind hearing them. So just let me know. Honestly, anything you want to let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I will let you guys go. And I will see you in my next video.